Well, welcome back. Hope things are going well. I'm doing okay. Hopefully you're excited for another video review because I am. Um, these are hopefully serving a good purpose. My purpose is just to kind of, teach you about what I'm learning about these books, and I try to make sure that it means something when I do some of these videos with you. And it's really important to kind of see what authors talk about because reading really enlightens the mind. It shines things on maybe things that we don't always think about in life. Maybe we have questions about, and sometimes books have those particular answers that we're looking for, or maybe that one important quote, which is very important. So today I have it's not a very lengthy book. This is a 2004 edition, and it's I forgot where I bought this, but it's called The Friend Factor. I might have got this at a library that was kind of trying to sell books and stuff like that, and it's by Mark Sanborn, and the Fred Factor, and it's about a person named Fred that works in a post office, and he wants to make more of himself. That's kind of what this author is trying to make a point, and it kind of says, where he's trying to hit. And it's about passion in the work life. We can kind of turn maybe a simple job into being extraordinary. And what he's trying to say, I don't think he's trying to focus on the post office, but I think he's trying to show that, you have somebody in a particular job and they want to make an impact as much as they possibly can. Maybe they don't have the most important job in life, but it's also about what your impact you're making on that job to serve customers, to serve the job itself and get the job done. And the book is very glamorous book. It's going through a personal thing, personal and professional way of going through life. And it's, in the book it says that there are not unimportant jobs, just people who feel unimportant doing those jobs. And I think that's how you feel in the job that makes it more appreciated. It's very appreciated for somebody to pump your gas. Some states don't. I think some states pump the gas for you, or maybe there's a greeter at a local grocery store. That greeter does do a central part, or that gas person that fills a tank for you. They do serve an important aspect, and they want to feel important. And you need to, as a society, we need to kind of recognize that. Every job means something. It's not always the high-paying jobs. It's what you get out of it. And so every job has pros and cons. And you gotta kind of outweigh one or the other. But you also have to make it feel important to yourself too. Anyway, so let's get into this a little bit. We all like being employed means something to everybody else. It means that you're doing something that you have a skill in that desirable outcome, or you have something to have an employer be it in honorable. It's the ability to have value of a customer, and it's you kind of have to outthink the competition into it, and the mind comes very bothered with a lot of negative stuff. It's like, well, I'm doing this stupid job because I have to do it. No, you're doing the job because you're making something of yourself, and it is only temporary. And it's how you feel about it. And he says that no matter what your job you hold, what industry you work in, or where you live, every morning you need to wake up with a clean slate. You can make your business as well as your life anything you choose to be. This is called the Fred Factor. So the Fred Factor is just a way of seeking the importance in your life. And he says that there's types of Freds. There's the funny Fred, the enjoyable, where you go to work and you make people laugh and you have fun at work. You have a little bit of humor that you go to work. You're making the job really good for yourself. And or maybe the other Fred's like, you want to be the accountability Fred that says, you know what, I'm doing this because I need to, and also I want to make everything as good as I can. But those people are people are counting on me to be there. There's also the generosity Fred, that you're very kind and considerate, and people look at that. Being kind and considerate is better than being negative. Because when people are negative, we tend to get away from them or dissociate away from them, because people like to feel happy. Our minds like to be happy. And when you're depressed, you don't want to be around depressed people. There's an old saying that misery wants company, or something like that. And when people are miserable, they want people around them to be miserable. And then there's the famous Fred, that all work is honorable. Always do your best because somebody is watching. And that's a type of Fred, is like, somebody's maybe just, they're kind of like, what, look at me, I'm doing all this. And sometimes you can get overzealous on that. But in a way, you're kind of feeling that, there's some accomplishment here. We got to do things. And so he kind of does this, and it's all about the passion of significance. And when you go to work, you kind of need to feel good about what you're doing. And the person that is doing the work determines the difference between the mundane and being magnificent. And it's harder to be miserable, negative, and insensible. And I think that's really important. I don't really want to kind of go with that, because I think it's harder to be happy than sad. And it's easier to look down all the time, right? We can look down, and when we're looking down, it means you're sad, right? If you think about it, you look at somebody looking down, and they might be looking at their phone. But in a way, they might just be depressed or tired. But a person that holds their head up high and looks into the sky, or kind of, it's hard to be happy sometimes, because think about your bones. I mean, your bones are always going down, right? Because of gravity. And when you smile, it's harder to smile sometimes. So what he was saying in this is that it's harder to be miserable, negative, and insincere than it is to be happy, positive, and genuine. So I'm trying to think about what he's trying to say there. And it's hard to be happy sometimes, because it's easier to become depressed. Anyway, that's what I think about it. I don't know if I agree with that, what he says. To know more is to notice more. And when you notice more, maybe you become more happier, because you're doing this job to help your family, your friends. Maybe you're helping your parents, grandma, yourself. You're surviving because you want to get to the next job. Anyway, he says that there's 3 different making strategies. And these are kind of like, what makes you have value into your job. And a lot of it is customers, family, and a boss. Sometimes customers can drag us down, but they're temporary when you work in a job, and you might have to do customer service. You work in customer service. What do you expect is going to happen? And you have to learn to have a little bit harder skin, thicker skin, I think is what it's called. And sometimes family is hard to deal with. And believe me, we all have those times that we just want to stop. I don't really want to be here, because it drives you nuts, especially down the holidays. But you also need to understand, maybe they're fighting their own battles too. You're their family, and they go through things differently than you. When you go to work, Or maybe you're this person, you're a boss and you're in charge, and you can be a ruthless pain in the ass, and you can just, it's like your way of the highway, and you have no sympathy for anything. But you can also be this kind-hearted person that says, you know what, it's okay. I know you have had a tough month and your numbers are down. I'm not gonna fire you. I just want you to say, hey, what can I do to help you out? Those considerate bosses. And it really just starts with that. And a lot of it just is how you respond in life through those certain circumstances. And responding is the best thing in a kindly fashion. And you don't want to fight fire with fire all the time, because fire only gets hotter as you put more fire into it or more energy into it. You add value to people when you value them. And a lot of it comes with how you respect each other and take accountability for your actions too. It's based off how you act in the quality of work you do. He says that there are 7 B's of relationship building. Now, I'm not saying that relationship to go out with somebody, and a relationship is that how do you work close with somebody or in a place that you have to build relationships with. Be real. You want somebody to be real with you and not be fake. Sometimes when somebody lies, like a white lie, some people know that, and they think that, well, he's lied before, so he's not real with us, and that's a discredit. And so that's part of being a good person, is that you want to be real with people. You want to ignore the fake things, and it starts with trust. And the next B is you want to be interesting. Not you don't have to be extremely interesting to say, hey, I feel like you. Just say, hey, you know what? Show genuine interest. So he says that show genuine interest in the people, and people are very flattered by that. When you express and get interested with them, get engaged with them. Be a better listener. Sometimes people talk more than they listen, and it's annoying. Believe me, I work with a couple people that are just like, oh my God, stop talking so much. Listen. I just want a simple yes or no, but then you have to explore it. Be empathetic. Empathetic means be kind. Everyone you meet is fighting a tough battle too. And when you're empathetic or showing empathy, it makes people show that you're being a good person. And you have to be honest with people too. I mean, if you don't get something, say something, and that makes that you're very valuable, because people, they don't know something, they lie, and then those lies turn into something fake. And it turns out to be, oh, wow, you lied the first time. Wow, I'm not going to trust you again. You don't know what you're doing, do you? Be helpful. Just don't sit on the sidelines and expect everybody to do other things for you. No, get out there. If you have a dinner party with people and you're invited, that's great. But after the party has ended, go up to the host and say, hey, is there anything you want me to do for you? I can put some dishes, I can clean the house for you, or help you clean the house. Be considerate, be helpful in that way. Don't just expect that, you come over and says, hey, you know what, yeah, I'm done, and then leave. No, ask before you leave. That's always good, because people respect that. And it makes a big difference. Be prompt. Save time and be effective. That's, use your time wisely. Those are the 7 B's of building a very connected relationship with people at home and employees and friends. People value those results a lot, and it takes just about the same amount of time to be nice, to be the nice guy, than it does to be a jerk. And it's easy to be a jerk, but it takes the same amount of time to be nice too. Telling the truth is very big in practicing personal responsibility and personality power, showing people that you really are in there. You're not just on a branch somewhere hanging and waiting for somebody to come by so you can jump on them so they can go with you. You can go with them. You know, you always want to add up the good stuff. You always want to be enjoyable, and you want to be enthusiasm. You want to show humor in what you're doing, in anything, any type of job. You know, show humor. People love people that are funny. Sometimes that leads to a nice relationship down the long line. Sometimes when people are working together, you know, you show humor and show caring and show dedication to your job. They think that, well, if you do it to your job, you must do that to everything, and it does show. Working somewhere else does show what you do and how you work. It does show how responsible you are at home. And you really have to subtract all the bad stuff, the defectives, the irritations, the waiting, you know, the misinformation that you get, and it really puts a bind on who you are. And sometimes if you don't know things, just say, I don't know. Don't make things up. We do that. I think we do that because we try to not see ourselves as worthless. So we try to make excuses because we don't really want to tell people, well, I'm actually kind of don't know. I are ignorant. Ignorant doesn't mean stupid. And it offends people's ego. It's all about ego. The best way to grow value is to grow yourself. And you want to become a sponge of ideas. And the more that you are open to new ideas and open-minded, people are willing to come with you. If you're closed-minded, it's like, well, I'm not going to bother with him. He always says no to everything I want to tell him. So I'm not going to be out there. But him over there, hey, I want to go to him because he's so open and so flexible. And it creates this ripple effect. You know, you throw a pebble in a pond, and it begins to ripple away. And as the ripples get a lot larger, you know, the distance from the center becomes further, ripples become smaller, but they're still going at a rate, and they're still spreading. And you want that big ripple effect to make to your advantage, because then maybe that as the long run goes, those ripples keep going. It makes a splash, a small splash into somebody else, and they think that, oh, I've heard of him, and I always heard good things, good ripples towards me, so I'm going to speak to him. It's that ripple effect, and no man can be rich without himself enriching others. I think that was Andrew Carnegie that said that. Is that you got to encourage other people, and it will turn on you someday. It's you want to teach people. You teach what you know, but you reproduce what you are. Yeah, that's an interesting quote I read. Anyway, a couple more quotes I'd like to share with you real quick is that, you know, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then it is not an act, but a habit. Aristotle said this. A quote in the book, here is that he was quoting Aristotle, Greek first logical person that gave us, you know, some of the science that we're doing today. And a lot of it was misled because, you know, he had limited technology back then. They didn't know the Earth was here. Sometimes they were starting to say, "Why are we here?" They didn't have all the good instruments there. But anyway, off topic. But he believed in a habit. Is that, you know, after a while you form habits, and these habits are good, and maybe they could be bad. Depends on how you do it. But if you do it with excellence, and you repeatedly do it, it turns into a habit. And that's a habit of being nice and genuine and thinking about what you're doing. It's hard sometimes to be perfect. When I say perfect, that means, you know, always putting a smile on, always saying, "Hey, thank you." But those are important things. Saying thank you. You know, how's your day? Could I, you know, give you a jacket or something like that if you're cold? It's hard to do that, but as time goes on, it's easier to produce that too. We all have our bad days, you know, and sometimes our bad days conflict with our attitude. And it's hard, but you also need to be aware of your surroundings and aware of your actions, because those actions do mean a lot. You also have to have an agenda, something that you're doing throughout the day and something that you're doing about it. And it all comes with attitude. Attitude is very important, and it determines who you are and how you express yourself. It's the actions that you take to express yourself too and make things work. And it's about the accomplishments towards the end and what you're trying to reach. And that's part of what's going on in this book, is that he's trying to determine what kind of Fred you are. And at the beginning of the book, he said that there's the funny Fred, the accountability Fred, the generous Fred, and the famous Fred. And in a job, you kind of have to pick who you are. And people like that. They will gravitate towards who you become and who you are as well. So, interesting book. Like I said, it's really not a very lengthy book. There is some pretty big words in there, like the length of the page. So it shouldn't take you that long. It's only about 100 pages. The author, his name is Mark Sandburg. He is a international known author, motivational speaker. There's a lot of books that have a lot of motivation speakers, and some of them contradict themselves, but a lot of them always are on the same wavelength. And that's just part of being a human being, is that we read other knowledge from other authors and we associate it to ourselves. So but it's how the author portrays that information too, and that makes a good book. But I forgot where I bought this at. It's a 2004, like I said. But anyway, hopefully that you're taking everything with a lot of good information, a lot of good insight, learning something, and that's about it. So I hope you enjoyed. I will see you in the next video.